Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, we talked about the concrete schools, the ones that had this particular brand of nasty concrete, Raac, that was at great risk of crumbling, of crashing, of falling down, and possibly injuring or even taking the lives of people within these schools. And so, in England, I think there was a massive sort of checking out over the summer. They've closed the schools while they deal with the problem. Some of these schools may have to be rebuilt. Some can just be supported and propped up, so it won't be an issue. They can be safely sort of re-engineered. Some will have to be demolished and rebuilt. Not the whole school, perhaps just parts of it, whatever. But there's a big ongoing thing with this being investigated. The same thing is happening in Scotland, and I believe there is something like, I think they said there was 37 schools across Scotland that had this particular form of concrete. But it also turns out, and this is the new thing, that there is an awful lot of NHS buildings built with the same material. And no one is saying what's happening with them. And now Labour in Scotland are calling for the government to announce how many have this and what steps they're taking to remediate the issue. So take a look at the issue now. Take a look at this article now. See what's going on and see what is going to happen and how safe these hospitals are, and even if we've even identified them, which is I think quite important too. Anyway, here goes. So, Scottish Government must tell public how many NHS buildings are affected by dangerous concrete. Labour is demanding to know when the Scottish Government was first made aware of the risk of Raac in NHS buildings and what action was taken when these concerns were first raised. Yes, actually they must. They absolutely must. The health and safety laws are explicit. At the moment any risk is identified, it must be revealed. It must be published. People must be made aware immediately that there is a risk. Now, if the SNP government have been informed of this and have sat on this for any kind of length of time, we're not talking a few days, but we're talking if it's weeks or whatever. If they've sat on this, then they are in breach of the Health and Safety at Work Act massively. And that act doesn't just affect organisations, it affects every single individual. And so every single individual who knew about this and who did not say anything, did not publish that information, can be liable under the Act. It is one of the most powerful pieces of legislation. Now here's Health Secretary Michael Matheson. Now he's got a worried look on his face, and well he might. Because the very good people at COSA, the Confederation of Health and Safety Executive or something like that, or employees, they're the people responsible for checking, checking that things are done correctly for health and safety. They will come down on him, as well as others, like a ton of bricks. The public must be told, and the people in the hospital, the patients, must be told which hospitals they are and what level of risk there is. It's called informed risk, and it is absolutely the letter of the law, as well as the spirit of the law, that this is promulgated, published and made public. Unlike this lot, who seem to think, what's that song? Come with me and we'll be in a world of COSA violations. Because they are saying nothing. They're breaking the law. And it is going to end up, hopefully, in a prosecution and not with someone getting hurt. Anyway, Labour is demanding answers from Health Secretary Michael Matheson over the extent to which collapse-prone concrete is present in NHS buildings, after the Scottish Government confirmed that reinforced autoclaved aerated concrete, Raac, Raac, is present in at least a dozen, or at least dozens of schools. I think it's 37 schools they announced. Labour's Jackie Bailey has written to the Health Secretary. She said that a survey of 254 NHS buildings for the presence of Raac would be causing anxiety for staff and patients alike, and the families of, and just people in general. Everyone needs to be aware. She told Mr Matheson it is imperative that they get the answers they need as soon as possible. You can guarantee they already know, because they know what these things were made of. Somebody knows, and they're not saying. Labour is demanding to know when the Scottish Government was first made aware of the risk of Raac in NHS buildings and what action was taken when these concerns were first raised. Well, we know what the action was. It was, shh, don't tell anyone, it'll be embarrassing. Quick, sweep it under the carpet. That was the action. Miss Bailey also asked the Health Secretary when the survey of buildings had commenced, calling for Mr Matheson to publish a full list of the buildings being surveyed. Now, the moment they knew about it, the absolute same day that they knew about it, they should have commissioned a survey. If they haven't, that's a breach again of the Health and Safety at Work Act. COSA, do your worst. She also said the Scottish Government must go public if Raac is found in any of the properties with a list of buildings affected. And challenging the Health Secretary on the issue, Miss Bailey asked him, are you concerned that any buildings could be at risk of collapse? And if so, how many patients or staff could be at risk? But also, the greater damage to the environment. These things come down. You've got to remember what's inside hospitals. There is some really, really nasty stuff. And that could then get out into the environment. And we're talking radiation stuff here. You know, you might have sort of cancer treatments that use things like cesium. Now, half-life of cesium is like, I don't know, 500,000 years, something stupid like that. Now, I think the pellets, what do they put in there? They have these radioactive pellets of cesium that goes in these great big sort of, when you get your radiotherapy things. Now, they are, I think, something like 60 pecabecquerels, something like that. If that cracks open, your average person walking past within seconds could hit 20 or 30 gray of radiation, and literally 3 gray will kill you. So this represents not just the danger to the people in there, but to the greater community. If you've got this sort of stuff hanging around, not to mention all the other toxic stuff that hangs around. But this is a major disaster waiting to happen. And the SNP are doing nothing. We could have a worse event than Chernobyl if one of these buildings collapses and there is an explosion. And I mean, not like, don't mean like a boom, but simply, just the machine sort of coming apart and spreading these pellets of cesium-60 all over the place with a half-life of 500,000 years, irradiating a great big chunk of countryside and leading to what could be thousands of deaths. Do these people not realise the dangers? And I'm not over-egging this. I mean, look, let's just do this. What is the amount of greys before death? 5 greys. Whole body acute exposure, 5 greys or more, usually leads to death within 14 days. That is frightening, isn't it? And they have got, I can't remember what it is. It's something like 30 petabecquerels of radiation in these things. That is a lot. That is a lot of radiation in these tiny little pellets that can just fly about. I mean, I'm not kidding you, these pellets are small. I think there's something like 3 millimeters long, 1 millimeter wide, and 2 or 3 of them, if left long enough, would emit enough radiation to kill you. And there's thousands of them in these things. You cannot get over, I cannot over stress how dangerous this is. And they are doing nothing. Anyway, they have no clue what the scale of the problem is, and they have no plan to fix it. Patients and staff must be able to trust that NHS buildings are safe. I'm afraid I don't. They are not even looking at them. So there is no guarantee these buildings are safe, is there? And you think of all the other dangerous things in these buildings, the poisons, the medicines that could leach into the ground, all sorts of things, as well as just the sort of standard crush injuries you're going to get if one of these buildings collapsed. they're doing nothing. They're completely in breach of health and safety laws. They could end up killing thousands because of laziness and their desire to keep everything secret. They need to be prosecuted. COSA needs to get on that and start prosecuting them for not doing anything about it. Sorry to frighten you, but it's true. It's absolutely true. Those radiation machines are lethal. Anyway, I shall stop there and come up. Before we go on, I just want to make two corrections. One, I picked up on as I was saying it. I kept saying cesium-60. Of course, it's cesium-137. I'm thinking cobalt-60. Completely different thing. You use that in nuclear weapons. Cesium you use in radiotherapy units. And I have looked this up, and approximately about 40 grams of cesium pellets goes into a radiotherapy unit. Each of them produces, well, let's just say a lot more individually, a lot more radiation than you should be taking. But of course, it's very, very highly focused, and it's only on for a split second and things like that. So it is safe to use. I don't want anyone who's going for radiotherapy to think it's dangerous. As long as it's done correctly, it's not. It is fine. I just misnamed the number on the element. The other thing I said was it would be 500,000 years. It's not. The half-life of cesium is 30 years, but given how much is in there, it would be about 1,000 years or so before it's down to background safe radiation levels. So it's about 1,000 years if one of those machines goes poof. Not 500,000 years. Even so, longer, I think, than anyone would want it to be. So we got those two things out of the way. The fact remains, though, it is still very, very dangerous. And they do have an issue. They must tell people where these where these hospitals are and all these other buildings are, what risk they represent, and are they taking any remedial action to reduce the risk, and certainly to remove the likes of radiotherapy machines from any building that is likely to collapse. That absolutely has to happen. Anyway, having frightened you all, I shall stop. Do please, if you still need to go to hospital, go to hospital. They're not likely to fall down at any particular issue, and your health is far more important than perhaps any immediate concern over a building falling down. But the risk's still there, however small. So the SNP need to be on that. They absolutely need to be on it, and COSA need to be all over them until they have. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope that this has earned a subscription. There's something shady going on, because they like to hide things and hide the videos because they're all political. So it's very difficult to get the truth out there. And I do apologise for the mistake I made in the main part. I did correct it. Anyway, till next time, stay safe, stay well. Definitely stay well, and for heaven's sake, don't go to hospital if you can avoid it. And if you can, go to a nice new modern one that isn't made of crappy concrete. Bye.